Welcome to the Women in Leadership Body, Soul, Mind, and Business podcast. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Heather, and together we are working to connect women in leadership and business, empowering each other, improving the health and wellness of our community, body, soul, and mind, and connecting to the heart and soul of who we are and what we do.
Here with us today is the amazing integrative health expert and educator and holistic coach. She's founder of the InnerSpark Method, which empowers burnt out, deep-feeling women to transform overthinking, people-pleasing, and anxiety into confident, shame-free, thriving in body, mind, and spirit. Back with us today is the lovely Devon.
Yay! I'm so excited to be here today. I've been looking forward to it, and I always love getting to converse with you too.
Yes. A couple other things Devon does, which we want to throw her a shout out for, is she has a podcast as well, Uprooting Feminine Shame podcast, which you can find at her website at innerspark.life. And also she has a freedom and confidence for burnt out deep feelers and overthinkers Facebook community, which we will also have the link for all these things in the description for today's podcast. So thank you all for joining us. And Devon, we are so excited to hear what's been on your heart lately.
Just got the goosebumps. It's going to be big.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing and plugging my things that I'm up to. And yeah, I love, well, first of all, I just love connecting with you too. I love what you're doing, and I love just the connection that I feel and the space for the heart-centered communication, which is so beautiful, because I feel like that is what's on my heart right now. Is something I'm noticing and becoming more aware of is the kind of sleazy, yucky practices that I'm noticing in the kind of like women empowerment world, especially as it relates to like new age spirituality and coaching and all of these things. There's a lot of just yucky, unfair practices. I feel like a lot of old school kind of like, okay, it's like we're all on this path, this mission to kind of create a more heart-centered, unified world, right? A unified people over profits way of doing things, where we're stepping away from capitalism, we're stepping away from these kind of power over hierarchical power structures. And I just see these people who claim that they're wanting to do that, yet I look at what they're doing and what they're saying and some of their practices, and there's a big disconnect. It's like the cognitive dissonance and the like, it's not there. And I've heard from so many of my own clients and friends and colleagues that have really negative experiences in the space. And so it makes for the people like myself who, are highly trained, highly passionate, like this is our life. We adhere strictly to a code of conduct and ethics and really care about people. It makes it challenging for us because so many people are out there doing things in a very just not good people-centered way. And it's really sad. It's just, I feel like these remnants of capitalism and these kind of yucky, more patriarchal ways of doing things that we're all untangling. And so I'd like to believe that a lot of it isn't just like straight up consciously malicious, but that people are not aware of just how deeply ingrained these things are in them. And so they're like acting out what they think is the way to do things, how we're going to make money, how we're going to do this and how we're going to do that. And yeah, I'm not sure if that made sense. That was just free flow,
bringing awareness to the way that we are conducting ourselves, right? Bringing that awareness out and bringing it out, and not only that, but I know that you have some ideas of what it could look like if we step into that.
Yeah. I dream about it all the time, right? I know we all do. I know personally the most important thing for me is that, and I'm like seeing this image of, you know, like fractions and ratios, but like people over profits. And I know for so many of us that is so hard to believe and so scary because we want to, as business owners, operate in that way. And yet, unless we're like, I don't know, independently wealthy in other ways, or if we all lived in a world that also preached that, and not just preached it, but like lived it, it would be so much easier. It's like I still have to. My husband reminded me the other day. He's like, babe, until you can like walk into the store and your beloved vegetables are free and you can just walk out with them, like you need to charge money, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think we all are finding where the pendulum is going to fall in the center. It's like we've been swung over here for so long in a, like I said, a patriarchal capitalistic way that is really just void of any mother. Like we're all just like really crying out for the mother to return. And that's like that's why I do the work that I do, is to reawaken mother consciousness and to heal feminine shame, regardless of like gender and anatomy. It's much deeper than that. And so it's like we've been over here and we're trying to just come back this way. So I'm not proposing that the other side is like the extreme opposite of that. I think it's going to take time as all the momentum and inertia was over here feeding this beast, like to kind of settle back in. And so when you say you have ideas of what it could look like, I'm like, yeah, I do. And I'm also still figuring it out, because we are, as women in business, leading this new way. And I think that there's a lot of us that aren't doing it in a collaborative way. We're not coming together. We're still living out the ways that we were taught, where we're in competition. You're my enemy. I don't trust you. Women are this, women are that. And so we're like, under the guise of women's empowerment, I want to help you, but it's also like, I'm going to exploit you and take advantage of you and do really weird marketing tactics and like this, and it's this disconnect. And so it's like, I don't know if I have the solutions. I wish I did. Maybe we can talk about that together.
Coming together as actual community and working on that piece, right? Like we've been talking about the different topics of the Yoga Sutra all year, you know. We're almost, you know, a full year of talking about it, because it brings us a foundation of communication, right? So we're going to show up in a way that we're going to be better than we were the day before.
That's the plan.
Right.
And then working as a community, I know our local communities have done such a really great job at this, because a lot of them are ran by women, and they understand the value of leaning on each other. We have 5 flower shops downtown Arlington, and when there's a big wedding, they all work on it together to make sure that it's
whoever actually got the job has the flowers they need for the job, you know, and keeping it local instead of, you know,
we're pitching in and helping put together things. And, you know, they've been really great with linking arms. You know, even our local hairstylists will refer people to other stylists based on who's got what specialty. And you know,
everybody, and it's been really awesome to be a part of that community and really see it working on the other side, on the business side, because everybody's thriving, whereas they could be cutthroat and yucky, but they're not. And it's great to be a part of.
And we understand it is not like that everywhere.
Right.
The bigger the world gets, the more fierce it tends to be. But it is wonderful to be able to see this community in particular come together like that, because that shows us that it is possible in the bigger world.
Right.
It is possible for us to love and care about each other and each other's businesses and help support each other, even if we're providing the same kind of product.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I love that. And I know for me, a big thing in my own life, like that I walk fiercely, and that is a big part of the work that I do with people, is like knowing yourself. So I love when you brought up the Yoga Sutras, because if we don't know what we don't know, we can't create what we ultimately want to create. We can't create something new while we're still operating out of the old. So that knowing of yourself and really feeling into, like, what do I envision? What do I want to create? How does it feel? And sometimes, like I was saying, you know, I don't have all the answers. I wish I did. I feel like I feel it all so deeply, and I know what's possible. Like the communities that you're mentioning, I have some of that with my colleagues as well. And then it's like, when I witness the other side, I think sometimes I have a tendency to get caught up in that and be like, well, why is that still happening? And forget about all the beauty that actually is being created. And
Right.
so holding ourselves accountable, knowing ourselves, and asking where I can be more in a circle. Like, I think women, we are communal. We are sitting in a circle together, you know, the circle of women. We're not in these like structures and these pyramids schemes and all of these different ways. That's not natural to us. It might be fun at first, like, oh, I'm making this money, I'm doing this, but it's not sustainable and it doesn't feel good. And your health physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually are going to end up suffering. We're not meant to live the way that we live in so many ways. And I think it's quite harmful to more heart-centered, earthly, feminine beings that feel it all so deeply and deeply care about other people.
Yes. I feel like a lot of what society teaches us to do is to forget our inner knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that repeated messages that we get makes those negative agreements. And we have to break those negative agreements that we've made with ourselves and society in order to continue to grow in that way. And to be more connected to ourselves and each other.
One of the tools I use is being really picky about what I'm listening to. I'll straight up turn the radio off. I'm like, no, we're going to choose what we listen to this morning. Like, they're not in charge of it.
Yeah.
Like, just taking back the control of what I'm being exposed to every day. You know, I still hear about big things that happen, but it puts that space between it, right? Like, I don't have to be bombarded every single day with the negativity. And it helps in the long run.
Yesterday, we were in my car, and my husband drove my car this weekend. So of course he changed the radio station, and I'm not even paying attention to what the radio station is. But before we get out of my driveway, she's like, "Ew, no, turn it off." And you know, and then I realized that it was like this morning talk show of like men, and they were all like gruff sounding and things like that. And it was negative in nature and things like that. I'm like, yes, please change that.
I know it wasn't the intent. We were just like go mode, you know.
So making sure we are feeding ourselves with those positive images mentally is super important. And then what you're talking about today, Devon, goes right into this week's sutra topic, which is that continued focus. So that continued focus for our businesses is just what you're talking about.
Yeah, continued focus on ultimately, and I love what you said, like the world is designed to pull us away from our inner knowing, because then we're more easily controlled. And so having that continued focus on the core of who we truly are, blocking the outside noise to the best of our ability, because I mean, unless we go run away to the mountains, it's impossible. So we want to be a part of the world. And yeah, having that continued focus on who we are at the core and what we actually stand for, and ensuring that we're really, really walking those values, aligning with those values. And so especially when it comes to business, like I know I stay very connected to my why, like all the time, because this isn't easy, right? It's not the easiest path in the world being an entrepreneur. And so in those rough times, I stay very focused on why I'm doing this, why it matters to me, and how I want to be of service in the world, what legacy I'm creating, and having a very strong connection to those values.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
If it's not a heck yes, it's a heck no. Yes.
And that's a heck yes. Oh, Devon, it's always wonderful, wonderful and amazing.
Can I add
to
one more
talk-
thing? Sorry, this is like
Okay,
screaming at me
absolutely.
through.
Yeah.
Just as like a final little nugget. Oh, where'd it go? Come back. How it can be so having that continued focus and kind of reminding yourself that it's a marathon, not a sprint, and that things that are worth building take time. Things that are so juxtaposed to the culture that you live in take time, because things are set up to kind of have you not be successful. So just remembering that continued focus, it's not always sexy. It's not like the quick, sexy thing to do where it's like this instant gratification that we're going to receive, which we're so programmed to do these days, but that it is truly, in my humble opinion, the most worthwhile part of life. Because
Yes.
that like sustained, just it's like spiritual discipline to me, just that kind of like continued focus, that stamina, that spiritual grit, is what carves mountains. It's what it's how the Grand Canyon got here. It's not this quick hit of dopamine that's just this like sexy fun new fad practice to do, this new trend, this new that. It's like, no, because that stamina and that continued focus is going to outlive all that other BS. So just a reminder to myself and us all that it might not always be sexy, it might not always feel good, but it is like the way. It's how you're going to carve the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
And trends are designed to be short term.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're following the trends, you're not following who you are. You're not following your inner knowing. You're following the crowd.
Mhm.
So carve your own path.
Nice. I love it.
Through
I love it. I'm seeing visions of the Grand Canyon.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so fun. So
amazing. Always amazing.
as entrepreneurs, we always want to remind each other to give where our hearts lead. And this quarter, our heart is led to the Tears Foundation. They are located in Puyallup, Washington, which is somewhat local to us. And they now serve all over the U.S. and all over the world now, helping families after losing an infant or child. And then they also help with education around caring for a young infant. So it's really a cool program. And it's really neat that if you think about a slow growing something and having that continued focus, what 20 years of continued focus has done. They've gone from just being a local, I have goosebumps again, a local nonprofit, just be serving all over the world. So, and having that servant heart. So Charlie and I are collecting donations for their annual fundraising gala.
Yeah, that's going to be super fun. It's 20s themed, and we'll be collecting donations both for the silent auction and the live auction. So,
and we're looking forward to going and being dressed up and having a fun night.
yeah, and you're more than welcome to join us too. So find out more information at thetearsfoundation.com.
All the links are below.
Yes.
Absolutely. And if you want to stay up on what's happening on this podcast, I mean, there's just
So
new
much.
things happening every single week, every single day. New things are happening. Hit us up at Women in Leadership BSMB.com.
Thank you all for joining us. And thank you again, Devon, for being our guest today. It's always a pleasure having you. And for our listeners, we love you all and hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Mwah.